There's been a lot of talk about leaderboard preservation and mod multipliers in Laser. While this video is adjacent to that topic, I'm mostly talking about something else, but stay to the end of the video if you want to hear my opinions about that. Anyway, we're talking about score farming and what exactly is going on with the leaderboards, and which client should you be playing in now. As of now, the current classic mod score cap is set to 96% compared to Laser. That might not seem like a lot, but you would have to play one additional map for every 25 maps that you play in order to have roughly the same amount of score. If we use my profile for an example, I have 17.3 billion score, and with the classic mod reductions, this would be 16.6 billion score. While some beatmap leaderboards do show the adjusted score values, they don't seem to have adjusted anything on the profile, and I can't tell if this is because I'm logged in or if it's because of this thing. So it's unclear if all of our stable scores will be retroactively converted with the mod multiplier and display on the score leaderboard and our profiles. This is all pointing towards it making sense to just play on Laser at this point, if you're concerned about getting the most amount of score possible from each map. However, it's still uncertain whether or not there will be a leaderboard reset in the future. It's leaning towards a reset not being likely or needed, but you still run the risk of losing any progress made with scores set in Laser. At this point, the best option would be to stick to stable until we finally get an official announcement or update that tells us Laser scores will be permanent, or when our profile scores get updated to reflect that. Personally, I'm not going to be playing any Osu, at least for the next few months, as I'm not interested in completing the game again or grinding for SS scores unless I can use the rate change mod and know all of my scores will be accounted for. It's clear that Peppy wants to have both versions of the game going, as there's many players still apprehensive about updating, but remaining to play in stable for the future seems punishing, at least in terms of score. Think of where we'll be a year from now where Laser is the norm, and most, if not all beatmaps have some amount of Laser scores taking leaderboard spots, and maybe even maps being created in a way to be more comfortable with the newer game mechanics. Right now, we're in a weird transition state where a lot of players have attachment to their old scores and number one placements that would be unreasonable to assume anyone could replicate any amount of their scores on command like that. And again, years from now, most of us will be concerned with something else, so it's just an annoying and maybe necessary step for the game. The only other option I can think of is that we have two separate official leaderboards, one with and one without classic mod scores, and players would keep any number one scores they set on their profile if they're at the top of either version. But this has the issue with duplicate scores on leaderboards if the player plays the map in both games, or even further separating the community and feeling like there's no reason to update to Laser, which leads us to where we are now. Okay, yes, this does look goofy, but better scores will eventually be set to better represent a proper leaderboard. 96% does seem a bit harsh though. In fact, if we think about the mechanical changes to Mania, only the long nodes have been modified, so the score reduction could have been the ratio or weight of long nodes in the map. Same with standard, and maps with no long nodes could have been the same score, but that's a lot of math and it complicates comparing various amounts of maps rather than just having one set number for everything. On the topic of leaderboards, tied scores like this should just both get rank 1. Wow, this person decided to play the map 1 second before I did, so his score is more gooder than mine. Or even some instances where I'm just a newer player, I discover a map for the first time, and lose out on getting the best score because I was new. In the context of world records, the first person to set the record being credited as first place makes sense, and tying the world record doesn't also give you that world record title. Same with speedrunning, but I don't know, something like this to where there's a clear defined limit to how high a score can possibly go, and we all reach that limit, there should be no distinction of whether or not my score was good simply because I'm a newer player. Doesn't FFR have something like this? This could make going for 1 million scores, even if there's already 1 millions, more rewarding, as you can actually gain something from it. But I feel like a lot of people will disagree with me on this point, so let me know in the comments what you think, and if you'll be personally playing in stable or Laser. Why?